My name is Michael Hopkins, Chief Marketing Officer for VINCUE and host of Q the Next Leader, an exclusive automotive industry podcast from VINCUE. Today, my guest is Ryan Junek, owner and GM at Junek CDJR in Spearfish, South Dakota. Welcome, Ryan, and thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me today.
All right, cool. So your name's in the dealership name. So obviously you grew up in the family business.
Yes, yeah, it's one of those that either finds you or you fall into it or you're born into it. And I'm definitely one that was born into it. Uh, my family, uh, my family went broke farming in 1929 in South Dakota. I'm 1,000% South Dakotan. All four grandparents were born in the state, and all of them were in agriculture at some point. But my father's side, they went broke and did the whole grapes of wrath deal where they lost everything and they loaded what they had left. My great grandfather and his four children, wife and four children, got on their Model A and headed west. Their plan was to make it all the way to Seattle, Washington, and instead they broke down in Spearfish, South Dakota. And one thing led to another. And about 2 years later, they built what we believe is the second gas station in town. And my current location where I'm at now is right in the middle of town. But back then, it was the highway entering the town. And so our little corner has been here since the late 30s. And one thing led to another over the years. After World War II, they started a wholesale parts and tire recapping business. And when you're out west or anywhere really in the United States, you'll see old abandoned gas stations, that sort of thing. On the 50s and 60s, my family was the Napa of the area. They would supply parts to all those little mom and pop gas stations all through the Midwest. And in the 70s, that started going away. People like Napa were starting to get in there. The tire business had changed quite a bit. And so there was some interesting stuff going on. They were trying to decide whether or not to continue. And in 72, my father graduated college. In 74, our county seat is Deadwood, South Dakota. We're very wild west out here. Devil's Tower is 30 minutes away. Deadwood is our county seat. The Sturgis Motorcycle Rally is in my market area. So we're in the northern tip of the Black Hills, just 10 miles from Wyoming. And the interstate opened up. I-90 opened up through Spearfish in 1972 in Deadwood, where that was the economic heart of the area. It had a giant gold mine in that community. The Chrysler dealer went broke. And just when my family needed it the most, Chrysler came down and asked them if they'd like to be in the car business. And I was born in 75 and here we are. So basically at the age of 13, I started washing cars and driving illegally around our little block and went to college, came back, got in the car rental business for 9 years. I was in the Rapid City Regional Airport for 9 years with a thrifty rental car franchise. And then had a young family, was driving about 30,000 miles a year just between Spearfish and Rapid City. And we divested of the car rental company. And I've been 1,000% full time in the dealership since 07, 08. And then, but really I've been the dealer too since 98. So been in a long time.
Yeah, I would say so. That's quite a legacy of entrepreneurism for the Junek family.
Yeah, I mean, I've been real fortunate. I've had wonderful mentors. Most of them I've been related to, and then of course a lot I haven't been related to. But I grew up with my father and my grandfather and his two brothers and their sister, and then on my mom's side of the family I had both grandparents in town too. So I had a lot of elder wisdom uh given or beaten into me, whichever way you
Yeah.
want to put it. But yeah, it has served us well. We have a lot of family sayings to either take opportunity or avoid trouble, and it's an interesting legacy. Uh, they hadn't always made the best decisions. I haven't always made the best decisions. So, it's nice to know in that entrepreneurial world that you're going to make mistakes, and you just have to figure out a way to get through it and on through the next year and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So do you have a family saying for that then?
Oh, every day is a new day.
Yeah, well, that's a good one.
And we tell that to our employees. No, this isn't a family saying, but I have to tell my employees this whenever they have a fender bender or whatnot. It's like, hey, no one has wrecked more cars than me at this stage, as I've been working here for 37 years. So and I mean, just I'm sure while we're talking, we'll run into some of the philosophies as we
Yeah.
go through. But
I'm gonna keep asking for them because I'd like to.
okay,
I love those. I used to. So my background's not in automotive. I worked in healthcare, and I worked for a hospital down in Dallas, the largest public hospital in the world. They like to remind people, which is such a Texas thing to say. But we had this CTO, and man, that guy was just full of them. I think he didn't say like an actual direct sentence once for like hours at a time. Everything was so
yeah,
colloquial. I love those sayings. Mine
yeah,
was
I do.
he goes, "You look dumber than a fish trying to climb a ladder."
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
one of my
Yeah.
favorites. But okay, cool. So so you've been at the obviously you've been involved in the dealership since you were born. Does that make you third generation? Was I counting correctly?
Well, fourth
Okay.
in the business. Dealership wise, technically third. But really, my dad was the car dealer as he was 23, 24 years old when that all started.
Very cool. So what do you love about automotive? What gets you excited about the industry?
Uh, Currently or over the years, because that's
Yeah, well, life's an evolution, right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I would just say that you have to know about a lot of stuff. There's not you can't really name anything that you don't touch. Whether it's insurance, banking, obviously investments when it comes to putting numbers on cars, that sort of thing, real estate, uh, being a leaseholder for buildings, employees, accounting, you name it. I mean, we're basically a walking business school, and just overall. The other saying I guess we could say too is I did graduate with a business degree from the University of South Dakota in '98. But really, I probably should have got a psychology major with a business minor, because a lot of what I
Yeah.
do every day, whether it's employees or customers, especially even vendors. I mean, it's psychology at the end of the day, and you're just helping people guide to a good decision. And sometimes I'm getting guided to a good decision.
Yeah, I mean I hear that from dealers all the time, and looking out in, I think it would surprise people sometimes how much like genuine care for people is really at the core of what happens in our business.
Yeah, it very much so. And no matter where you're at, I was just in Michigan for a 20 group right in the middle, near Alma. And you know it's all walks of life that we have to deal with. You have to go, you have to take care. You mentioned medical. You have to take care of the heart surgeon the same way you do with
Mm.
uh with the single mother trying to raise three kids and needs a car to get to work, sort of thing, and everything in between. And sometimes the most polished person is probably one with the bad credit, and sometimes the rancher coming in his coveralls and covered head to toe in mud is the richest guy in town. So you
It's
you you have to be able to relate to every
uh,
single one of those people and treat them well, and that's how you stay in business for as long as we have, is
it's
knowing those truths and being
Yeah,
able to relate.
it's funny you mentioned that. So I grew up in Iowa in Waterloo, so not too far
Oh
away.
yeah,
Our big vacations actually were like, the Corn Palace and the Badlands,
yeah.
and we went to was it Bear Country or something? There's
Yep,
a
that's in
wild
Rapid
bear.
City.
Yeah.
Yep, outside of Rapid City.
So we grew up doing that in South Dakota. So I have very
Yeah.
fond memories from South Dakota. But so my mom worked for John Deere, and my dad
Oh
worked for the implement. So he sold combines, and
yeah.
he would tell us all the time. He said, you got some farmer walking in, he's got manure on his boots. He smells terrible. He's wearing his coveralls, and he writes a check for a $200,000 combine.
Yep, exactly. Or
Yeah,
or he comes with a bag of cash. I've had that
yeah,
too before.
oh,
So
I'm
yeah.
sure. That's cool. So, tell me a little bit about your dealership. What's sales volume? How many employees you've got? What are your numbers?
So we are a small rural dealership. We are very much landlocked. We're right in the heart of Spearfish. Our original gas station location, actually, it's our second one. We're still in that building. My service department was built in 1951, 2, 3, right after World War II. So it's a cinder block building, and we've been able to just keep going in that footprint. My showroom is actually very large. It's on the same city block, but it used to be a Piggly Wiggly, and so we had a grocery store right next to us forever. And then in the late 80s, I think in 90, 91, it finally closed, and we bought the building, and opened it up in 92. So my showroom is an entire grocery store essentially. And we live in Hale country. We're the Hale capital of the world, western South Dakota is. And so we're able to pull up to 33, 34 cars into our showroom and clean up
Wow.
area. So it's like playing Tetris. Although all those years of playing Tetris in the 90s have paid off.
Yeah,
So
but that's
yeah,
great that you've got that space. That's amazing.
yeah, it is. It is. Our old buildings and our footprints really helped us stay in business, especially through the 5 or 6 ownerships I've been through as a Stellantis, Chrysler, FCA dealer.
Hmm.
Just keeping costs low. And so on the front end side, I basically have 3 salespeople. One of them is also a sales manager and a business manager, and we can add a 4th salesperson just depending on how business is flowing and how much traffic we have going. And then our service and parts, our back end is our bread and butter. That's where our livelihood comes from. And I have 5 technicians with 1 apprentice. I happen to have 7 hoists and basically no flat stalls. So each technician has to learn how to be efficient and proficient. And then my service writers, I just have 2. My service manager also writes. And then I have a 1-man parts department. I am the backup parts manager. So when he goes camping or goes to a hockey game, I have to go work on the back parts counter. And then my controller's been with me she's the only employee that has been here longer than I have. And then I have 3 part-time BDC people. So 18 people in total. Between me, my sales manager, my service manager, and my shop foreman, who's one of the technicians, we have a lot of years of experience. Well, we're probably touching 150 to 200 years of experience between
It's
all of us.
incredible.
Same with the parts manager and the controller. I guess if you throw all this in there, we've been in the game for a long time, and really that team of 5 or 6 people, we just have to mentor the other 15, and it's what leads to our success. But definitely small town, definitely guide people to good decisions. We won't have the largest grosses in the world, but we're also here, and we'll take care of people if we did something incorrectly, and that's the key to success in a small town like this.
Yeah, it's interesting. Even the dealers that I talk to that are in the bigger cities anymore, like that has had to be the switch in the last,
Oh yeah,
10 years. It's just because customers have so many more options now. So many,
yeah.
and probably less than Spearfish, but I'm sure there are
Well,
other dealerships, but the thing is
yeah,
they can also get cars shipped. Like it's like, it's
yeah.
not hard to be able to ship around or shop around, and it's really not hard for them to know more about a vehicle than you do because
Oh,
they
for
are going to
sure.
get
Well,
honed in
me,
on an
yeah.
individual car, right? They're going to do a lot of research.
Yeah, me definitely, because I've got my
Yeah,
mind in about 80 other places. But
sure.
the so in our area, we actually are very dense with auto dealerships, including used car dealerships. But uh, we're so rural. Our market area is basically a 200-mile radius, and I'm talking service and parts customers as well. That they will drive that far to get their oil changed or get their vehicle fixed. And in that radius, there are 4 Stellantis dealers, and
Wow.
there's 6 Chevrolet dealers, and there's probably 6, maybe 8 Ford dealers. And then Rapid City has all of the Toyota, the Honda, Mazda, that sort of thing. And in that area, we probably only have 200,000 people or so. So
Wow.
there might be more cows than people, honestly. So it's a very competitive environment.
Yeah.
Um,
Talk to me about
you're
your strategy. So how, I mean, how do you compete in that kind of environment?
Well, the size, truth be told, outside of a couple examples, I'm the only owner sitting in the
Okay.
business every day. We're going through the same level of consolidation that everybody else is. And, one of my life goals is to maybe be the last single rooftop dealer in the area. But, or maybe even in the states of South Dakota and Wyoming, it's close. I've got a friend in town that's single and one in Rapid City, and the rest are all big groups.
Yeah.
So just the fact that I'm sitting there, I am typically, this is my office I'm barely in, and I'm typically in our sales tower, which is right inside our front door, and I will greet and then to typically hand people off to the appropriate place or walk into the service department, that sort of thing. So that personal touch is really, it's hard
Yeah.
for anyone that has two stores, much less three, four, five, six. They just can't match that.
Yeah, that's a big differentiator. That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
the more you can lean into that, the better.
Yep.
So, but still facing some of the same challenges as any other store, right? Acquisition is probably a big challenge right now.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
guys what are you guys doing there?
So, well, that's really where VINCUE comes in. We in South Dakota, in particular, in the Black Hills, you're talking Eastern Wyoming, Western South Dakota, the truck drivers and all those years of experience that I have. 10 years ago, those truck drivers called it the black hole, where everything goes in and nothing comes out because the nearest significant auction, meaning it's a Mannheim or an Odessa or whatever, is either Billings, Montana, which is 6 hours away, Denver, Colorado, which is 6 hours away, Sioux Falls, which is 5 hours away, or you get into Minneapolis. And so when you go to give up on a used car, it's a significant, it is, you are making a commitment that I'm probably going to lose money, plus I'm paying for the car to get there, and there's no way I'm going to haul it back.
Mhm.
And that's a competitive advantage that, although there's enough distance from us, the dealers in the eastern half of my state or closer to Cheyenne, Wyoming, that's close to Denver, I mean, they can really play that game of, oh, this car didn't work. Let's run and recapitalize on something else that will move. And so that's always been a real challenge for my store, on the used car side. And there was a long time, from probably '08 to maybe 2001, I didn't buy a car at the auction. Just everything was coming from the curb, and that strategy works well when the new car business is humming,
Mhm.
and you have brands like I have that have had wonderfully successful years in there. But then when things cool off, it's all of a sudden holy buckets. The new cars aren't selling, and I can't get used cars without the new cars. So um, we brought VinCue in a year ago. I learned about it at a 20 group meeting, and I had never heard of VinCue before. When it came out of the mouth of the person that said it, I said, "What'd you say?" and
Oh man, that doesn't make me look good.
well, I know, but I mean, you were a young budding, company, and no one else in our group, which I'm in a NADA group, and we've been together a long time, and no one else had been in it and or had even really heard of it. So we, several of us, including myself, as far as other dealers, immediately took a demo. And the thing that I love about it is it does incorporate heavy market movements, and we'll kind of get into this, I'm sure, later. But the other thing is it incorporates transportation when you're buying cars. So
Mm.
um, the tool itself has got me back into purchasing at the auction. And then, of course, transportation's changed quite a bit. We've gone from you have to buy 8 to 9 cars and get them all hauled from one location to you're going to have someone probably new to this country hauling 2 or 3 to your store. And as long as you're buying 2 or 3 from a general location, that's easier than trying to roll the dice on 9. or 8 and having to be at the right sale at the right time. So
Sure.
VinCue really does a good job of me being able to go through each sale or even shop the sales and set up a shopping basket so that I can go in and try and bid or buy now if it makes sense, and then get the vehicle arranged to ship if the shipping quotes which inside of those systems aren't available. So it's made a huge difference. It's made acquisition way easier, and it's got me buying in different areas of the country that I would never have dabbled in before.
That's great. That's awesome. And I know our shipping partners will be happy to hear some of
Yeah,
that as well, because we tried really hard to bring them in house and make sure that everything was super seamless and easy. So that's
it
awesome. I'm
it,
glad
it
that that's your experience. Are you guys doing anything private party, service lane, other dealer wholesale?
Yeah, we're definitely working on service lane because I'll have 18 to 20 people walking into the service department every day, and I might only have 3 or 4 walking in the sales department. I think that ratio is pretty universal across the United
Hmm.
States. And so there's no reason to not present the idea, hey, we're also here to acquire your car. It's my saying, going back to the sayings right now, my tagline for the last few years has been vehicles today are complicated and expensive. And nowhere else is that the truth than in the service lane. We've all gone through parts inflation.
Mm,
If you're going to have good technicians, you're going to have to pay them and you're going to have to charge for them. And we recently did a survey in my 20 group, and the average oil change in the room was $100. And that's a 5, 6 years ago is the 29,995, you know, oil change, and you really can't get that at the quick lubes anymore. They're maybe charging 40, 50. But
right.
it's not the same level of expertise inside the store either.
Sure.
Nor are they necessarily selling OEM parts, which also have a warranty tag to them. But yeah, so we're really focusing on that service to sales transaction, and just like everybody else, we're trying to figure out whether you're doing VLAs or trying to be on a shopper site and pay for that. And I've gone through many evolutions there.
Hmm.
And with our wide area, I really have to focus on target marketing. So I have partnerships with larger entities that have really good market research uh, information, and so you can
Sure.
imagine who that might be,
Yeah.
but that's what we're using. Yeah,
Makes sense. So let's dig in on service lane a little bit, because it's service lane acquisition is kind of like the new frontier, right? And
yeah.
acquisition is trying to figure out the right way to quantify every single one of those service appointments every day to say, hey, we think this customer is in the right position. It's the inventory that we want. Like, how do we put a good number on this? We want our service team to be really focused on service, not necessarily on sales. So
Yeah.
there's a bridge there. How have you guys approached that in terms of training, process, technology?
So technology wise, I've been on the same CRM since 2012, and I have, even though we're not the largest dealership, I have 10, I have probably 30,000 customer records individually that I keep pretty clean. And we might not see people for a year or two just depending on what kind of vehicle they have, and we're a heavy snowbird area. So what I choose to focus on using that data is trying to reach out to people that are in the right mileage window that I want to try and purchase. So in recent past, that's going to be typically a Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram vehicle. But we will reach out, whether it's a text message. In many cases, loyalty. I have a high loyalty number, so the every salesperson who sold a car in the past 4, 5, 6 years, they get a notification that this person's going to be in today, and that is one thing that VinCue has, is the ability to grab all of the service appointments and download into the appraisal system, so we can quickly go through and pick off, this is going to make sense. Of course, you don't want to try to offer to buy a car from someone you just sold it to 6 months ago. So
Yeah.
so you got to have a little human intervention, or you got to be very sophisticated on your data pulls and your data screening. But I think I really see that as being the future of all this. It
Hmm.
gets really expensive to try and acquire companies or acquire customers. You're better off just keeping the ones that you have if you can.
Yeah, listen, 100%. Are you signed up for Unleashed in November?
Unfortunately, no. So I am, with all my experience and my very social butterfly networking and speaking abilities, I am our current state PAC chairman for our state association,
Got it.
and I have a meeting in Pierre, so I have to be in Pierre, South Dakota, which is where our capital is. That same time period, I was planning on coming and fully
Well,
committed, and I looked and I was like, oh,
I, I
I can't give up that to do that. So I
that's fair. Good news is we are sold out. We're like 4 away from sold out. So you'll stop
oh
getting
yeah,
emails from me about
yeah,
registering. So
yeah,
that's the good news. But the reason I ask is so trade cycle management is the big conversation, right? It's the
yeah,
new version of vehicle exchange programs. It's service to sales kind of is looped into that because that's a big part of trade cycle management. And I don't know when this episode will air, so I don't think
sure.
I don't know how bad I'm letting something out of the bag, but at Unleashed on stage this year, we're going to be announcing a brand new solution set around trade cycle management, which includes yes, your service appointments, yes, appraisals on every one of those, the VMR, the vehicle VINCUE market report released on those, but we're working with a partner, Team Velocity, to actually bring in the equity data too. So
Okay.
inside of VinQ's trade cycle management on those service appointments, it's not just what is the vehicle, how long have they had it, what's the mileage. It's got the equity position all integrated, all inside of VinQ. So the appraisals faster, we get the VMR faster to present to the customer. So it's something we're investing in heavily right now, which will be available to you as soon as we announce.
Well, and that's the other thing I wanted to say about VinQ and this opportunity is what's wonderful about it is as you guys work on stuff, it's hey, this is out. Here you go. Let's use it, and that's very refreshing in our industry, and
Yeah.
with many other vendors. It's kind of ubiquitous. I mean, that's the business model typically for software. The guy that started his education in the early '90s, and I mean been through the whole evolution of software development. But yeah, that you guys should be commended for that in that attitude, and rightfully so. I mean, this business changes so fast, and in a person in my position who's making all the other decisions, plus on top of who am I going to use for this, who am I going to use for that, and going back to the sayings, I have
Mhm.
changed the MSs twice before, and that my saying on that puppy is when you go to switch, CRMs are very similar. When you go to make that change, you are deciding to change religions, and you're telling everybody that works for you that they're changing to the same religion, and
Yeah.
and it's that difficult. You
Well, and
will
DMS is the hardest one. That's like,
yeah.
that's,
CRM I don't think will be much better, just
yeah.
because uh, you have all your car deals in there. I mean, you're kind of starting from scratch, and so it's tough. But you get into the appraisal tools and or F&I tools, that sort of thing. There's not a lot of record keeping happening there. I mean, there is and there isn't. So he who has the best mousetrap is going to win and going to keep their customers, especially as things keep going forward in this data heavy
Yeah.
industry we are going to be in and already are in. It's
Yeah.
just there's most of the cheat codes are gone. Most of the cheat
100,
codes. I haven't
100%.
heard of anyone doing a super sale in a long time. And 10 years ago, that was like my way out of the hole or the secret to my success, depending on what kind of market environment you were in.
Yeah, it's
And
funny. I mean, even consumers, I think if you did that now, I think consumers would be like, "Oh God,
oh,
what's wrong with these cars?"
yeah. Well, the Google reviews. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd be answering
Yeah.
Google reviews for the rest of your life. And then you'd
Yeah.
have to take down your GMB page and you'd have to start a new one, which I've
Yeah.
seen people do, but
Yeah.
you'd have to get through that part of it.
For sure. Okay, so we talked a little bit about VinCue, and obviously it's the VinCue podcast. So I'll ask you a couple questions about that. You said that you guys switched over about a year ago, and you guys went all in, right? You guys are on appraisal, inventory management. Are you
Yeah.
using the vehicle buying center?
Yes, some. Our rural area is a little tougher on that front.
Hmm.
However, our 20 group did set up a group in itself. I think we have 6 out of 18 dealers that we're on right now that's on VinQ. So we do some horse trading amongst each other. Although my distance kind of is far from those guys because it's it's uh it's well, we're in eastern Wisconsin, 2 stores in Michigan, one down in Garden City, Kansas. So there's not a lot of interstate highways between those areas. But uh, we do we do get leads through it. I did set up on my website all of my appraisal tools and whatnot, whether it's through my chat or my call to action for get a value on your trade. All go to our separate URL that we set up through VinQ. I even have my own chat widget on there, so if someone does start chatting, someone does answer them, and I'd say we get a dozen a month through that source. I'm
That's
trying to
great.
leverage it more through service to sales because there's avenues there as well. And we're trying to polish up our automatic messaging that goes out to incorporate those
Mhm.
kinds of things. But
And we've got some exciting things there too that I think you'll be happy to hear about. Those I don't think I can Easter egg because I
well, and
don't.
that's fine.
But
The
you
thing
might have
the
to wait
thing
till
is,
NADA for those.
yeah, I'll be there for that. Obviously, with
Figure.
my NADA involvement right now,
Yeah.
but we yeah, the ACE report, and anytime you can hand that information, and we're completely transparent with everybody on new and used cars, and we stay on top of our pricing. The days of asking for thousands of dollars off is just gone. I mean, there's no way you can explain to it. All you have to really do is roll out to people, hey, on our used cars, we average $2,000 of recon on every one, and you start thinking about that, and that means it's going to be a pretty well reconditioned used car,
Hmm.
and we point that out when we hand the comparables over, and the ACE tool does do a nice job of mapping that out.
So let me ask you, when you guys you heard about VinCue at a 20 group, which is
Hmm.
awesome because those 20 groups are great and those are super hard to break into because they're so protected, and because
Yeah,
they're such a
yeah, yeah,
valuable resource.
yep.
So awesome that you heard about us there. So taking the demo, did you have a specific challenge that you were having? Did you have what was the driving motivator behind not just taking the demo, but actually signing up?
Yeah, the real driving motivator for me was the information scrape. And because the provider we were with at that time had kind of narrowed themselves down to uh, their other products. So if the dealers were using their other products, that's where the data pull was coming from. And I could see that happening over the years because I would have to go further and further out for comparables. So as you're appraising a 2024 Equinox, I'm going out 500 miles to get a comparison of six when I know I've got 6 Chevy dealers within, an hour's drive of here. And so, not only that, but I have a lot of used car dealers around me. They're very predominant. And if I knew I couldn't see those people, I didn't want to do the good old thing and start going through each website. I mean, customers do not want to sit there, and I don't want to waste my time trying to figure all that out. And so I would say that the data pull was the biggest thing for sure, and also the willingness to add websites to where we wanted to crawl, and that in coordination with the data that comes through, you do get a general sense of where demand is and supply on the used cars in our area. And those, I mean, the world's built on supply and demand. Now they're saying that that if you aren't getting good data, you're not going to make good decisions.
That's awesome. So you guys get into onboarding, you go through training, get everything turned on. What was the transition like? As
You
bad as a
know,
DMS? Hopefully
yeah,
not.
yeah, no, it wasn't as bad. My sales manager and it was, I wouldn't say paralysis by analysis. If I have one critique, there's some predominant buttons you guys need to kind of increase the size of, especially for new people. but you know, your little appraisal box with your recon and your pack and your auction fee and your shipping and all that stuff. And it's in a box about that big. So you're sitting there going, what am I looking at? And where do I look? Where do I point to find this out? So it did take us about 60 days, maybe 90, to really know where everything is instinctively. But on the flip side, it's all in one place too. It's all in one. There's not a lot of pop-ups. There are some, but not a lot. And I'm sure that'll improve over the years as you get more input. But to illustrate that for us, and this is kind of a key stat for us, and I don't know, I probably could figure out what my appraisals per month were in my previous providers. I've had several over the years. But when in January of this year, we only appraised 60 used cars. And so we were still trying to learn. I think we went live maybe the first or second week of December. It was about that time because we were trying to beat the Christmas. You guys are all going on Christmas break. So I think we flipped on right before that week of Christmas. And we spent, you know, the next 6 weeks just trying to figure out, okay, where is everything? And then July, we appraised 200 vehicles.
Man.
And we sell, well, in July, we sold 21 used. So I mean, that's what it takes to figure out where this marketplace is. And then, like I said before, we're going into different markets that we weren't in before. And part of that is the regional aspect to the used car market, because there's a wholesale market and there's a retail market, and they aren't the same. And
Right.
so you have to be able to go find the wholesale market where the opportunities are. And then again, back to the shipping, you got to weigh, okay, is this worth going all the way to Las Vegas or Dallas, Texas to get this piece? And sometimes that answer is yes by $500, you know. And so that was the big decision. It is. It's multiply that times 20, and pretty soon it's someone's paycheck. So you know, it's something you got to pay attention to.
Yeah, that's awesome. The appraisal volume going up is incredible, and that's what we want. Like, you know, everyone's been really focused on look to book forever, which is an important measurement, right? It's good to know. But you know, if you pump your appraisal volume up, then that, you know, and even if you keep your look to book the same, that is that many more cars in the door, that many more transactions.
Yeah, and I'd say too, a better feel for what's happening. I bought 3 cars right before I got on with you, and then we sold a couple others. So then I had to go start looking for those replacements because of our logistics. I won't see those cars won't be frontline ready, and this is a downside to our rural aspect of life. You know, to be 2 weeks to 3 weeks is kind of reality. I mean, you can say all you want, oh, I get it done in a week or 4 days. Like, I got bad news for you. It takes 4 or 5 days for the gate pass to come, and then it takes a couple days for the truck driver to go get it, and then it takes a couple days for him to show up. So you're not even touching the car until about day 8. And if you're buying a 40-50,000 mile vehicle, you're not just checking if something is wet at the end of the dipstick. You're putting it in the air and making sure that your customers are going to be happy at the end of the day, because we planned on that as we were doing the appraisal. And so you get down to it, and we're probably, you know, in a 3-week window of trying to get stuff ready. And but at the same time, you know, we have way more choice than we used to have a year ago right now. And we're able to move those vehicles or help customers move into the proper vehicle, whether it's a price, mileage problem, or a finance issue, or that one's black and this one's silver, or I'm going from a Grand Cherokee L and that's not large enough, so now I need a Suburban. So we have those choices there. So the speed is important, but sometimes just having the choice is important as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about those appraisals a little bit. How has your appraisal process changed in VinCue? What are the, you know, like we talk a lot about price and cost to market plus, you know, the additional little indicators at the top, but what are the metrics that you guys are using and finding useful?
Well, I'd say functionally, the main thing is I've kind of been able to turn my whole sales floor, including the sales guys, into appraisers. And they're not necessarily putting the final number on there, but they know what I'm trying to look at to decide, is this going to be a good investment or not? And we are in a rural market, so it's not mandatory for a salesperson to go on a test drive for us. I mean, we're scanning driver's license. We typically have a trade. I have a lot of loyal customers, so I have people walking in the door. Their car's either in service or I sold them their last one or whatever. And so we don't really throw the keys. We have the car pulled up, ready to go, and we do the presentation and then leave it. Typically, what would happen is they would come and bring me the keys, the salesperson. Would you please go drive this? So I go spend the next 20, 25 minutes trying to do that while everything else is stacking up on the other side. And now we've turned it basically into our sales process of, you're the salesperson. We also do cradle to grave on F&I. So they're having the full discussion right there. And it's valuable for you to take the pictures that we need. So if we trade this in, we can immediately have photos on the website. But also, you're going to be the one that overcomes all these objections. And I don't want you to hem and haw on why we can't give you a full price. And you'll say, hey, the check engine light's on, and we're looking at a $600 cleanup bill on this. And when's the last time you replaced the brakes? Well, we did it 3 years ago. It's like, no, the car you're buying has brand new brakes on it. We're gonna have to do the same for the next person. So that objection just goes straight. I mean, it's not even an argument or discussion anymore at this time. And we're giving people a real number. And yes, they can pick that up and walk across town or whatever and try to get the better number. But the longer I'm in this, the more the lessons the F&I box teaches you. And if you're providing a good service and you're presenting the value of what's going on, no one's going to get up out of the chair and go find out what the price of gap across town is. They're either going to say yes or no. And that's your tool. And being able to praise, I can trust my people to go do what needs to be done. And then if I'm not at the store, or if I'm tied up in a podcast or something like that, then they can shoot me a text or shoot me a message. Hey, are you okay with this number on this car? And I can quickly look and see what's going on. And they know what I'm going to ask. Yes, we need tires. Yes, we need a windshield. Yes, it's going to be a $600 cleanup. So then, yep, then you should be okay there. And we'll see where the market takes us,
Yeah, man, it seems easy.
Oh yeah, it's real simple.
Fair enough. What would you say is the biggest impact VinCue's had in the last year for you guys?
Well, for us, definitely volume. We from in 2020, 2024 was a very challenging year for Chrysler dealers, and even Chrysler will tell you that. And they kind of fumbled the football in every worst way. And we were caught back on our heels in the used car department because the prior years we were the cat's meow on the franchise side. So it wasn't hard to get acquisitions and it wasn't hard to sell cars. And I think that was an overall theme for our industry for the last few years. I mean, it's been a wild few years, but so were the few years before that, and so were the few years before that. So but when we closed the month of August, we sold as many cars in 25 than we did in 24. 24 was my worst used car year ever, but that's kind of where the tool came to me just right at the right time. It's like, we need to make some changes and I'm not sure what to do. And okay, here are these tools. I can see where this is going to help us make better decisions. The biggest thing that it did, and this wasn't what sold me on this situation, but within the first week, I knew this is where I had a problem, is under the used car demand tab. It tells you what your volume is by category and by total car. And it's basically the top 24 volume vehicles of your market area that you are setting. And on all the classes, I had, of course, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Rams. And then I had a dabble Ford here, a Chevy there, and the top 24 vehicles, I only had 8 out of the 24 sitting on my lot. So the first thing we did was, all right, well, this is ridiculous. We don't have a F-150 on our lot and 3 are sold every day in our market. So what the heck are we doing here? So you just have to start filling in those holes, and you might not make money on one that you went and bought at the sale or from another dealer through one of the vendors, but it does typically lead to a trade, and it does typically lead to some back end profit. And more importantly, it does lead to the phone ringing or people just walking in the door. But you have to price competitively, and you have to be there under the understanding you're not going to make 6 pounds on this deal. This is just like another new car. You're just trying to move the vehicle so that you can get the trade and do commerce. Because the alternative is not doing commerce. The
Right.
alternative is standing there saying, yeah, oh, I have to make $2,000 on a used car on the front end, or it's not worth it. It's not worth my breath. It's like, well, yeah, okay. And so you can save your way to the poor man's house by doing that.
That's great advice. That's awesome. Kind of talking about overall strategy in the industry. You mentioned that you're doing some work with NADA. You don't mind sharing kind of what you're doing with NADA right now?
Yeah, so I'm the Political Action Committee chairman, which PACs are how political fundraising is pooled into one pool and helps many people speak with one voice and support politicians that help our industry. And so that's through the South Dakota Auto Dealers, but that also leads me to being involved with NADA. And so I've been in the same NADA 20 group CP51. My first one, we were reminiscing about this last week when we had the meeting. I think my first meeting was when I was like 14 years old in Orlando, Florida. And so I've been going to them for a long time, and we have a real special group. There's about, well, we're down to 4 or 5 of us. Their fathers were also in the group. And so we know a lot about each other. But that involvement is really through my mentors in that is to try and get involved in your state or national associations. Usually it's the state, and that climbs into NADA. So last week, the week prior, I was in Washington, D.C. for the Washington conference. And basically, it's a group of auto dealers, and we are the professional lobbyers for our association. And in a 2-day window, we go see, I mean, there's dealers from all across the nation. Every state is represented. Some states are a little less friendly to the traditional automotive model, and others are more. I'm in a state that is very
friendly.
like to keep things the way they have been for forever. So mine are a little bit easier. However, we're there. South Dakota really punches above its belt when it comes to national politics. And right now we have the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, and a gentleman like that could just shake our hand and take a picture with us and move us along. But actually, he spends about an hour with us. And because he knows that we have the true pulse of what's going on in the economy, and we're aware if there's an issue going on with the tariffs, which there is right now on the agricultural side, especially with crops, and so that's going to impact our business, our employees, our towns, our customers. We're kind of the tip of the spear on all that.
Yeah.
And no matter what side of the aisle you're on, we typically have a decent audience with all of our representatives, whether it's Senate or the House. And it's a really interesting deal. I've gotten to know other dealers across the nation from it. We all play really well as a team, and it's fun.
Danny was actually out in DC at the same time as you. We've got a partnership right now with the Colorado Auto Dealers Association, and they obviously they're out there with South Dakota and with Utah and with a bunch of other states that we work with, but they choose to do one of their board meetings out there to encourage their members to be out there at the same time. So we get to go present and talk to them. So it sounds like it was a really really effective week, which is awesome. But
yeah, that was my 5th one in a row. Great. So the wow factor for me is kind of gone. And I see these people as humans, and it is neat. It's neat when you go into the Capitol and you're on the old side of the Capitol, and Senator Thune's office right now has a crack down the middle of the fireplace mantle from the War of 1812. They tried to burn the Capitol down, which is entirely made of granite, so that wasn't going to happen anyway. But it's neat to go do those things. But the reality is, we sat and talked about crop prices and the EPA especially. And there's some tax issues, but right now we've really kind of won a lot of those things. But for as much as the rock was getting pushed uphill on us, we kind of got it over the other side of the hill, but there's going to be another hill coming up. So we have to keep them educated as to how these national or state or international laws change, and they might not use it word for word, but it gives them a sense of what's happening and what the dangers are to veer away from the traditional business model that everyone in the United States of America uses to get to their job, whether it's at McDonald's or Walmart or the biggest high rise in Washington, D.C. So it's important they understand that.
That's great. Well, I mean, it's awesome to have a leader in the industry like you as also one of our users and one of our advocates. So we appreciate your work that you're doing there, and obviously all of the information that you feed back through your performance manager to us, because I mean that's how we know where to go
Brian
next.
Ball.
So that's right.
Yep.
Shout out to Big Zaddy Brian. That's what we call him around the office. You're not going to be at Unleashed, but he is. We have a little competition in the office among the performance managers, and he's like double registrations compared
Oh,
to
good.
the second place.
Yeah,
So.
I might know a secret, but unfortunately my calendar did not work. So,
Yeah.
but if I can make it work next year, I'll definitely be there. We were looking forward to it. It's just
Yeah.
like it's gotta do my due diligence duties with
Yeah, of
the South
course, of
Dakota Auto
course.
dealers.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I've taken up a ton of your time. I appreciate it. Before we go, is there anything that you want to say or that you didn't say about VinCue, about the industry, anything like that?
We did a pretty good job. I think my wife is gonna love me because I didn't
I
say
didn't hear any
42
ums.
times.
I didn't hear
I don't
any.
remember. Maybe one or two when
I'm,
I was trying to think of what to say next and
we'll run it
being
through the
careful not
AI
to
and
say things I shouldn't say. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, we didn't talk about that.
no,
That is the next.
that's
Actually, that will incorporate in damn near everything. It'll be interesting to see what you guys do with it. I have three right now,
come see us
and
at NADA 2026.
all right, I'll be there. You know
Yeah.
what? And well, I'm going to be there because I'm heavily involved.
Yeah.
But the chairman of the NADA show in Las Vegas is my friend Trace Beck, who's the Chevy dealer in Pierce, South Dakota. And so you'll be able to tell the South Dakota delegation, because we're going to have he better not listen to this. We're going to have T-shirts with his face on it and the super sexy thing that NADA drew up for him. So
Oh, that's
I'm
amazing.
probably going to get in trouble for that
Am I
one.
allowed to share that? Do we need to cut that out?
We'll see if Trace is listening.
All right. Well,
I'm sure it's out now by now. I mean,
all
we
right.
weren't keeping it a super secret.
We're running like a month behind on these episodes, so like this might not come out
Yeah,
for a little bit anyway. I
yeah.
think maybe we'll be all right.
We'll see. I'll see what month is this. I'll see Trace in about 4 weeks in Pierce. So we'll see if he says anything.
All right. You let me know, and we won't
Okay,
put it out if we're not supposed to.
that's all right.
Ryan, this has been a ton of fun. I really
Yeah.
appreciate your energy. I appreciate everything you brought to the conversation. So thank you for doing this, and obviously thank you for being such a great part of Team VinCue.
Yep. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate the day and have a great day.
All right, cool. So that's going to do it for this episode of Q the Next Leader. Thank you to Ryan, GM and owner at Junek CDJR up in South Dakota. Appreciate your insights, your perspective, and your stories. My name is Michael Hopkins, and I've been your host. If you're listening to this podcast for the first time, please go give us a follow on Buzzsprout or sign up for our newsletter at vinque.com. And if you'd like to be a guest, please reach out to us at vinque.com/podcast. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.